The title of her film is Full Stop. The simplicity of the title keeps the film straightforward and very clear. However, it communicates other messages, such as a full stop is a punctuation mark used to indicate the end of the sentence. This could suggest that a full stop is used to end someone's life. We think this is a suitable title for the film because it conforms to the plot of the story, as well as the genre of crime and mystery. It holds a very interesting meaning and it's very sinister and dark. It helps let the audience know that that the genre is going to be very sinister. Coincidentally, the full stop is not only emphasized in the title of the film, it is also emphasized in both of the characters, Lady G and Roy. For our opening sequence, we chose different locations to film it, such as the streets of the city. So the streets of the city will be able to create a sense of ambiguity towards the character, which the audience is trying to figure out who it is. It also establishes the setting and the city, which in this case would be Dubai. We also chose the alleyway of a compound. So the alleyway of a compound creates a sense of danger and an uncomfortable mood, because often alleyways connote to illegal activities or something dangerous happening. They also create a sense of claustrophobia, which portrays, which could suggest that the characters are trapped and reflect a feeling of confinement through the audience, allowing them to emphasize. We also decided to add broken walls in a room. This could imply that something has or had happened before that created destruction in the film. It creates a sense of unease and tension due to the fact that something chaotic and disruptive has happened.
So some other locations that we've chosen for our opening sequence are things like a hotel lobby. Hotel lobby is chosen because it has elements such as big fancy chandeliers, and this relates to one of our main characters, Lady G, because she comes from a very high-end lifestyle. And this is mainly included to portray the lady's wealth, and could also emphasize the two extremes of status that are present in our film. So we have the very poor character Roy, who walks in, he lives in an abandoned house, he walks in shady alleyways, and then we have Lady G, who's very wealthy and walks in fancy malls with fancy chandeliers. And this is kind of just to create a contrast, so it's very clear for our viewers to see why Roy might have committed what he did. Okay, so another location that we chose is inside a sketchy room. So this location provides an uneasy atmosphere for the audience and creates a sense of mystery and foreshadowing, because this kind of sketchy atmosphere implies that something bad or dangerous or illegal activity will occur. So like I mentioned, we chose a mall as well. This kind of modern atmosphere where many people are around creates a false sense of security and safety.
Our own institution name is called Question Mark. It would be written in a thrilling font to conform to the mystery genre. The name of the institution would be written inside a magnifying glass. The magnifying glass is used to emphasize the mystery, and it is stereotypically used as a prop in investigations and through the process of solving a crime. It is an element of mise-en-scène props, which is used by detectives in films. The logo is going to be in black and white. The institution logo will be in black and white typography to contrast the different ideas of innocence and impure events of the characters. The first 10 seconds of our opening sequence will consist of a pan shot of the main character, who is known to be a wealthy lady. She goes by the name of Lady G. The camera will scan from her feet to her head to allow as much detail as possible to be presented to the audience. It'll also establish the fact that she's very wealthy, focusing on what she's wearing, what kind of makeup she has on, like what bag she's holding. The audience do not know much about the character, however, it creates enigma because the audience will be presented with a short take of her entire body.
So our target audience is mainly aimed at 15 to 40-year-olds. Teenagers as well as adults will be able to enjoy our the kind of drama that's going to be in our film, in our opening sequence. They wouldn't consider it too dramatic or too immature, mostly because we'd have enigmatic features, for example, such as a title, full stop. It would appeal to all the viewers of all ages in our target age range that we're aiming to appeal to. However, certain elements of the opening sequence will engage different viewers. So, for example, the scenes in the hotel.
So for the costume aspect of our opening sequence, we decided for Lady G that she will wear a fur coat because fur obviously illustrates high wealth and status. She's going to wear a tight black satin dress that will make her look attractive. And she's going to wear diamond jewelry, red lipstick. The diamonds are obviously a symbol of high wealth as well because diamonds are the most expensive stones. She's going to wear red lipstick, red nails, the color red signifying the death and the gore, and this ultimately sets the tone of the movie and creates enigma codes because the audience will be wondering why we chose red, why we chose black, and also will be wondering and questioning her character as a whole, as she's left very ambiguous throughout the whole opening sequence. Also, the color red is closely linked to blood and therefore creates a tense atmosphere and a sense of foreshadowing, as the audience could link the color to the woman's death that would have already occurred at the start. Okay, and for Roy, he will wear an all-black outfit which will be comprised of a black hoodie, black sweatpants, black trainers, and a very significant point of Roy's character is that his face is left completely ambiguous. It's not shown, so he's kind of like a hooded figure, essentially. He's also faceless, so the audience have no face to associate him with when picturing his character. So the only thing they actually have is this black outfit. So we chose the color black because black is significant of dark, mysterious, and shady, dark occurrences happening. As well as both characters will be seen with full stop tattoos. The reason why we chose full stop is because it works in cohesion with our institution name, which is question mark, and full stop is it represents the end of something, so it could be alluding to the fact that our whole opening sequence is based around the end of a woman's life or her murder. But it also has enigma codes of, is there something continuing, because it contrasts with the idea of the full stop. So, Roy will have the full stop tattoo on his wrist, which will be seen when there's a shot of him picking up a briefcase, and then Lady G will have the exact same full stop tattoo on her ankles, which will be shown in the first scene where there's a panning shot of her whole lifeless body on the floor. So once again, the reason why we chose the full stop tattoo for both of them is because it brings a sense of cohesion to the play, so all the elements of both characters link together and flow together. So it also gives the audience something to think about because there's a link between both of them. They're not completely separate and distant from each other. That way it shows a sense of professionalism because it shows that our opening sequence has been thought through deeply. So, for the musical aspect of our opening sequence, we chose for the first scene, which is of the Lady G laying lifeless on the floor, we chose to have some non-diegetic thriller style music playing in the background. This stereotypical thriller music is used to emphasize the fact that something very bad has happened and to create a sinister and demonic atmosphere. Thriller music is associated in the audience's mind with bad events or something illegal happening, such as murder. So that way it'll instantly kind of put the events, like they'll make sense in their minds. Okay, and then next we have some climactic music that will be played when the shot of the murderer walking in the alleyway is shown to build up tension that will eventually lead to the climax. The use of this climactic music works in conjunction with the occurrences of the scene or of the opening sequence at the time. So when the action is very slow, the music will be very slow and calm, and if the action is building up and the tension is building up, the music will also build up. Okay, And then traces of non-diegetic fast-paced music will be displayed in parts of the opening sequence when there's it's to emphasize or to create the suspense and tension, and this adds to the mood of the film, it reinforces dramatic events and develops aspects of the characters. So, for example, dark music is played with Roy, and maybe more upbeat music is played with Lady G. Okay, the use of the fast-paced music allows the audience to establish the atmosphere, time, place, and genre, and make the events of the film fit well in their mind.
Technical considerations. We intend to include as many short close-up shots of the characters to get the audience familiar with the main characters. Close-up shots provide extreme details of very minor things that may be significant in the film. For example, a close-up of the tattoo of the full stop is significant because it emphasizes the fact that the characters could be linked in some way. Fast edit cuts will be used in contrast to the small close-up shots to create tension and grab the audience's attention. Short cuts will be used to avoid giving out too much detail in order to create enigma and drop hints of what's going to happen next.
Okay, so as for uses and gratifications, the diversion element is that the wealthy life of the lead female character will offer a sense of escapism for the audience, as they will feel that they're enjoying her luxurious life. Also, the close-off and quiet life of the boy will offer a sense of peace, privacy, and security for the audience to enjoy. In addition to this, since our two characters have very contrasting lives, the viewer can choose which character they choose to identify themselves with. And this links into personal identity. So one of the main objectives of our opening sequence is to enable the audience to feel close and identify themselves with the character, or with either of the characters. The audience will feel close and identify themselves with the characters, as our characters are very relatable and they're realistic depictions of people who live in everyday life that we see in our society. Also, we aim for them to be able to see aspects of their own lives or their own characteristics within our characters, and therefore that'll make it more relatable and easier to identify themselves with the characters. Furthermore, as for information, the main purpose of our film is to enhance the viewing experience for our viewers and allow them to feel emotion rather than to gain knowledge, because it's not necessarily a very educational or knowledgeable opening sequence. It's more of an emotional roller coaster, as you're feeling different things. You're feeling angry, you're feeling upset, you're feeling confused. These are all elements that are incorporated in the genre of murder mystery, after all. And to finish it off, there's also personal relationships. So we aim for them to be able to create personal relationships with others when sharing and discussing their opinions on our opening sequence, things they might have liked to see have been done, things they might like to see done better, things they didn't like, things they loved, things that they're conflicted, they don't know how to feel about it. So that is the uses and gratifications of our opening sequence. The concept of the institution name being question mark creates a sense of professionalism and cohesion, as our title is full stop, and therefore both of these being punctuation symbols makes it all flow together quite nicely. Also, both of these titles create a sense of enigma codes because they're not explained yet straight to the point and don't give insight into the occurrences of the opening sequence. So that way it leaves the audience questioning why we've chosen these different titles. In addition to this, the institution name question mark foreshadows that there's a mystery and in our opening sequence, and there are questions to be answered. So this also links quite nicely with our genre of murder and mystery. So that's an example of an enigma code in our opening sequence, and that'll engage the viewer as it will draw them in to watch, not only to watch but to question why we've chosen this title.
So for our opening sequence, we're gonna have two characters. The first one is gonna be played by Teenage Boy. He's gonna basically play a teenage boy who's broke and suffers from jealousy from the upper class. The audience is gonna be able to identify this because of the costume and the fact that there has been a murder. So the audience will enter into the character that's portrayed as sketchy and trying to identify the murderer. And then for our other character, it's also going to be played by a teenage girl. There's going to be more of a lady basically, so it's gonna be played by a wealthy woman who's murdered, and the whole story revolves around solving her murder and finding her murderer, which the audience is introduced to in the enigma codes of the whole opening sequence as a whole, from the tattoos and everything else, and the red lipstick and everything else in the opening sequence. So in our opening sequence, we aim to create a suspenseful and mysterious atmosphere. In order to successfully create this, we'll present the man character who was murdered in the first 2 minutes. The main genre of our opening sequence is crime mystery. Crime mystery typically revolves around a crime, often a murder which seems impossible to solve. The seemingly unsolvable quality of the crime sets things in motion and throws the story down a path to somehow find out what happened. Sometimes the crime takes place very quickly, and sometimes it happens suddenly throughout the whole film. The crime is then the heart of the story. The crime is usually then the heart of the story, and its seemingly unsolvable quality hooks the audience and the protagonist as well. It becomes a driving motor of the film. As the protagonist begins to solve the crime, the audience becomes even more hooked into the narrative of the film, as they feel like they're almost helped solve the crime and helping the protagonist and all the other. So for the following 1 minute of our opening sequence, there's going to be a montage of the murderer. However, the audience do not know that he is the murderer. Hints are dropped throughout the montage in order to emphasize the significance of his role in the film. His face is never revealed, however, parts of his body, such as his legs and his back, are presented. This creates a sense of an eerie tension.